All right, hopefully we should be live. Give a few seconds to make sure I don't cut myself off before I say anything too official. Let everyone filter in, but otherwise, I think that's a good buffer. So, good morning, everyone, wherever you are. It's good morning for me. It's even before noon. I'm just hopping on to, do what I do, find random things and connect it to Shakespeare and other bits of stuff that I'm reading and see if it's entertaining for you or elucidating for you at all. If you are not familiar with the channel, we like to do a lot of Shakespeare research, and I like to kind of do anything tangential, whether it's genre related or weird references, and perhaps, in other literature, I have a video about Thomas Pynchon referencing Shakespeare. And so today I'm kind of doing a little bit of, pop culture commentary or something like that, maybe, public, discourse, initiation, I don't know, and into some, maybe stuff that everyone is able to see. And so, yeah, this will be very, this stream might be temporally or very contemporary to what's going on right now, but hopefully if anyone finds it, they'll find it as interesting as I have. And so if you, once again, if you are interested in more content on the channel, I have all my essays on Substack and links down below in the description, as well as Chances, my other co-host. And you can, sometimes I make an essay before a video, and then sometimes I make a video before the essay version, so you never know. So yeah, you can kind of choose what you like there. And today, like I said, we're talking about maybe some, current happenings, and it's something that I actually have a little firsthand experience with. I got close proximity to what we'll be talking about today. And if you look at the title, the name of the title is Mimemes and Mimesis. Okay. And I had kind of in the past maybe gotten some of this mixed up. The spelling is obviously very apparent and very, very close, and the ideas are different, but I'm going to try to synthesize them together, and especially once again in this cultural landscape we sort of find ourselves in. So, if you look on the thumbnail for the video, who do I have on there? I have Peter Thiel, and I have Rene Girard. So Rene Girard is a French philosopher who is known for what is called his theory of mimetic desire, which is sort of for him it was a sort of like literary analysis and critic, but also like anthropological at the same time. And what it is essentially like an explanation for why and how humans operate. And it's essentially, in this idea of this is a good representation, right? And it's this sort of, the way I describe it is, monkey see, monkey do. And monkey see, monkey do because, we have this desire to achieve something, and we will mimic other people that we think are doing a certain behavior that achieves what they're doing, right? So like the instance, for instance, you see someone on Instagram and they're, living in Hawaii or something along those lines, and they say, this is, this is, what I do to do that, or even if you just watch them do it, you begin to try to mimic those behaviors because you'll think that by replicating that, you might achieve the same outcome that, that they're experiencing or whatever, right? And so, yeah, it's kind of a monkey see, monkey do, and, maybe, and in terms of Girard's sort of take on things, it has a lot of negative consequences, I would say, and that, people are not acting out of their true self. They're sort of, for Girard, he says that, all humans need a model for desiring anything, outside of food and shelter and stuff like that. They don't really actually know what they really want outside of, their basic needs being met. And so it's, it's like, I've got a multitude of examples maybe to offer up, if, certain female actresses or something like that are being pushed, and, maybe that's, the desirable thing that they want to push, take your era and about which or that. And it's, and yeah, for Girard, once again, that there's if this is you, or let's rewind it. If you see someone go to school, and I have this written down, but if someone goes to school, you're back in high school, and someone is wearing like the new, Kanye shoes or LeBron Laurent Marcus shoes or something. I don't know their names, and they are, they get a lot of attention from all the other students, right? Do they get, attention maybe for some females or opposite sex attraction or something, right? And therefore, you would like the attraction or that sort of same status recognition, and so now the Yeezys or the shoes or whatever become the new object of desire, because by wearing the same thing as that person, achieving that outcome you want, that adulation or adoration and all that sort of stuff, right? Is where what your goal. So you're going to try to mimic them by doing said thing, right? So then you start seeing everybody wear those kind of shoes at school because they'd all like that recognition or something. But for Girard, once again, it's being a consumerist, buying Yeezy shoes, a good use of your time and your energy just for that sort of stuff and just to try to look popular? No, he would say definitely not. And that's where his sort of theories lead to everything, right? Now, so we're talking about Rene Girard, but we're also going to be talking about memes, right? So, memes being the, if we're using the Richard Dawkins thing, I know in case you're not aware of, it has a little bit of scientific roots, essentially, for describing this stuff, for memes, which, maybe are cultural inside jokes or something, right? But here on the basic Wikipedia, a meme is an idea, behavior, or style that spreads by imitation from person to person within a culture and often carries symbolic meaning representing a particular phenomenon or a theme. Okay? So that's what a meme is. It's like a cultural unit of information. And some examples I've seen and that Dawkins offers up is something like a birthday song, right? It's just something that everybody does. Everybody repeats it over and over and over again. It's a piece of social information that propagates itself every time it's, invoked or used or something, right? Or every time you see it, it becomes imitated. And so, it's like a cultural imitation of, there might be, tons of other great examples of memes from, once again, cultural inside joke is, maybe the most layman way of sort of explaining it. But for Richard Dawkins, it's also a sort of like biological and anthropological sort of, process as well, because he'll sort of say that, just like in nature, the strongest survives or something. So the strongest memes will survive. And much like, why any sort of animal adopts a particular behavior, it's usually for an evolutionary advantage or something, right? No, particular animal is not going to do a particular thing if it's, not part of an evolutionary or at least a survivability implication, right? Once again, Girard might be like, this is where he would sort of start to chime in about these memes thing because, once again, Dawkins would say like, the best ones stick around because, they're the ones that are able to, continually spreading themselves or whatever, right? And what does he say? Examples of memes, and once again, we're just riding dirty here on Wikipedia. But if I have tons of other things I'll pull up. I got tabs for days up in here. But if Dawkins' book includes examples of memes as melodies, catchphrases, fashion, and technology of building arches. Okay, and where am I going to take this as far as what memes go and how do the strongest memes survive? Because once again, maybe strongest memes survive. We do a birthday song. The birthday song is catchy because it makes people feel really good when you hear the birthday song's terrible tonal incantation being sung to you. And, it's like a rite of passage, or it's, just like a tradition that we just continually do over and over and over again, right? We sing, this particular hymn for people's birthday, and it makes people feel, relatively good in the moment when we do that. So we continue doing it for other people. And, it continues the species in a sense that, birthdays are celebrated, culture survives, and, we maintain, human relations, which will lead to stronger, survivability outcomes and et cetera, right? Like, what if we had no birthday songs and, like, no one really cared about people's birthdays as much, right? Would that lead to, better or stronger culture, right? And I think it's sort of funny here. I'll tangent here for just a second as far as the birthday song goes, right? Because there are people in the Christian theological sphere that will say like, the birthday song and the birthday concept is like completely satanic or something like that, right? That this whole adoration and focus on like one person just because of like when they were born or whatever is sort of like an idolization sort of breach or something, right? And so, yeah, that's why birthdays are, and you just get showered with presents and blah, 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 blah. And there, might be absolutely something to that. But I think it's funny about wondering, how these, what's the real judgment on some of this stuff, right? I just sort of explained it not to say that's exactly what happened, but if that is how it happened, that why the birthday song is popular, because it, makes people feel good, and it stays around because people are still having birthdays. People are still having babies and celebrating birthdays, and, relatively not estranged enough that they're still celebrating the birthday, right? And so, yeah, it's, drop your comment below if you think birthdays are satanic or not, or a good invention, or they got some, like, I'm gonna hook my hat too crooked, or if birthdays are, nefarious or not, right? So, yeah, let me know, because I think that's one we need to crack open here, okay? Now, back to memes, all right? All right, so where am I going to take all this stuff, okay? Because why do I have Peter Thiel on there? For two reasons, okay? And Girard. I should have had the thumbnail put up in here. Maybe I can't. But yeah, so the thing about Peter Thiel, recently, he's been caught in hot water over talking about the Antichrist too much and talking a little too many ironies about, saying that, the Antichrist is, going to be someone who doesn't want total technological takeover, and and so it's it's a little on the nose there. And there's that New York Times article, or I'm sorry, the New York Times interview he did earlier this year in like July or something, right? And he a lot of those questions of, do you think the human race would survive? And he's like, maybe, he kind of did that him and Ho thing. But so we're talking about Thiel and Rene Girard. So Rene Girard was a French philosopher. I forget exactly when he died, but his big claim to fame is this mimesis theory, right? About this anthropological idea of like desire and how it spreads from person, or how desires essentially work and sort of achieve their end or whatever, and or explain all of human processes. Now, so Rene Girard actually was a professor over Peter Thiel. And so Peter Thiel, if you don't really know who Peter Thiel is, if you're not aware of like American politics at all, he's maybe we should just do this live. So Peter Thiel is, he's PayPal founder along with Elon Musk. He's a Republican donor. He's involved with the company called Palantir. Palantir, if you don't know, it's like a giant data brokering company of some sort, and it also, is named after the literal evil, inherently evil object in Lord of the Rings. The Palantir is like the little orb thing that Saruman. I wonder if they got a meme of it. Yeah, if I just type in Saruman here, Peter Thiel and Saruman. Yeah, here we go. Right. So exactly. So Peter Thiel is being Saruman. So this is called the Palantir in Lord of the Rings, right? If you've ever seen the movie or read the books, this is the Palantir. They're inherently evil. They spy on everything. And that's what, Peter Thiel is associated and heavily founded with this company called Palantir that's kind of involved with gathering and, information on everybody, like spying on everybody. Is it on the nose yet? Okay. So we have, Thiel, and he's heavily involved with, getting J.D. Vance into the vice president, even though Vance, talked smack about Trump, before getting involved. It was Thiel who actually got Vance and Trump together and sort of smoothed things over. And it's Vance is up and down like a Thiel man, like he's was funded by him early on, and a lot of that stuff. They got a wicked web assuredly connected together. Okay, so once again though, Peter Thiel is actually besides being a tech bro oligarch guy, he's actually a philosophy major. So he's the one who studied under Rene Girard. Okay, now why am I interested in Rene Girard? Because, and I have the book here. Because he did a book on Shakespeare. I think he's also got another maybe relatively loose book on Shakespeare as well. It's called like Desire in the Novel, okay? But this one's called Theater of Envy. And it's all about, his literary analysis, critical analysis of Mimesis on Shakespeare. And the first one I read in here, the only one I've this is like a bunch of essays, and the one that I read that I was like really blown away with, and was like, I think there's some legs to some of his ideas here, is his commentary on Troilus and Cressida, which we did read for our book club. And if you're interested in reading the all of Shakespeare's works and other apocrypha and related stuff and doing a weekly book club, make sure you check out the Patreon links down below. But I liked Troilus and Cressida a lot. I was like really confused by it in a lot of ways. It's just kind of tonally strange to me, and but I don't know, I really like the drama in it, and Ulysses definitely has a bunch of really gnarly lines, and the power into will and that sort of stuff, and that's all a good time. But still kind of confused by the whole thing. But I think Girard has a lot of good points in Troilus and Cressida, and in terms of his mimesis, and maybe I'll just do a whole reading of that another day, maybe. Once again, so Girard interested in mimesis, and he's the one who coined mimesis, or is definitely involved with the modern theories of mimesis. But if you've watched any of our Philip Sidney defensive poetry stuff, Philip Sidney, who we've connected, to Shakespeare up and down on this channel, Philip Sidney, in his defensive poesy, specifically mentions and brings up mimesis, the very thing that Girard employs as his thing, right? So let's pull up defensive poesy here. Defensive poesy. Oops, I'm going all over the place on my chat. Here we go. So let's look up mimesis here, right? Mimesis. Poesy, therefore, is an imitation, for so Aristotle terms it in his word mimesis, that is to say, a representing, counterfeiting, or figuring forth, to speak metaphorically, a speaking picture. That's basically what a meme is, right? A speaking picture to some end. And with this end, to teach and delight. So, I got Girard, the man, I got Rene Girard, the mimesis guy. And, I got him associated with, Shakespeare. Okay. And we got our boy Philip Sidney here talking about mimesis as well, right? I don't see Oxford. I don't see any, maybe some Bacon has some stuff in there, but I'll give Bacon a bone here. But yeah, I'm just saying this defensive poesy, man, it's like the iceberg that just is never ending. So yeah, Philip Sidney on the scene once again before everybody else. And yeah, I wish I need to look around and maybe Girard has some commentary on defensive poesy or has some more ideas on that, right? But to continue on, so yeah, I've connected Peter Thiel with Rene Girard, and Peter Thiel is also known for talking about the Antichrist and calling a little girl Greta Thunberg the Antichrist, and yeah, sure, she's her own psyop. I don't believe any of her story either, but for him to just be like, yeah, I think someone like Greta Thunberg, some 12-year-old girl, is like the Antichrist. It's like, all right, dude, that's not a good look. It's not a good look for you. But so yeah, Girard and Shakespeare, Philip Sidney. Where am I taking this? Yeah, so earlier, about a month and a half ago from here, November 2025, Peter Thiel held a bunch of private lectures in California all about the Antichrist. Okay, and you had to pay for it, and it was a bunch of hoity-toity, people in California, tech people talking about the Antichrist, I guess. But what was on the menu? The menu was Rene Girard, Francis Bacon, and a bunch of other, Jonathan Swift, okay. But yeah, Rene Girard and Francis Bacon. Well, once again, I already connected Girard to Shakespeare, right? And and Sidney maybe in softly, but Francis Bacon, big Shakespeare candidate, big contemporary of Shakespeare, essentially, right? So, and there's plenty of people that will connect, Bacon and Shakespeare up and down, right? Of course, and yeah, we haven't written him off either, but I'm just saying, hey, Shakespeare is still looming about everywhere, no matter how you want to frame it, or at least the apocalypse historian can definitely do those mental gymnastics for you. So let's see. So yeah, we got this like I said, this lecture series that just happened not that long ago, and yeah, I wish, I don't know if I think some people have some leaked audio of it, but yeah, I don't know if Shakespeare will actually come up or not. But let's keep going on this whole connection, because once again, I did say that there's a difference between mimesis and memes, okay? But let's see how they actually connect. So I tried to actually make an etymology chart for us, essentially, to sort of explain it, okay? So we got mimesis, which is the Girard theory, And we got memes coming from longer mimeme, all right? I think that's how you pronounce it. So mimesis, to mean imitative, relating to or characterized by or exhibiting mimicry, okay? And we have memes, an idea, behavior, style, or usage that spreads from person to person within a culture. Mimesis comes from the Greek mimesis, imitation, representation by art. That's what Philip Sidney sort of talked about, right? And then we got memes from Greek mimeme, which Dawkins apparently just chopped it off because he wanted to sound like Gene, so meme and Gene. So from Greek mimeme, imitated thing, okay? Now both of these words, both mimesis and mimeme, are both from Greek mimiste, or mimiste, to imitate, and further, mimos, imitator or actor, which has an unknown origin and might be pre-Greek itself. So memetics is the study of memes, cultural units of information that replicate or imitate over and over again, maybe. Mimetic theory from Richard Dawkins claims that the strongest memes survive, and mimetic theory from Rene Girard is how why and memes and desires are spread, okay? So yeah, one's like the study of the thing, and one's a little more focused on, or maybe how they propagate, why they do. It's like, if I can, rather explain it, we encounter desirable memes, things that we like to, something that's a good cultural inside joke. You hear the birthday song for the first time, and so we begin to mime or mimic it. But mimetic theory from Girard can account for maybe negative consequences of mimos or imitating and detect inorganic signals, variables, or other inorganic memes. Now, so yeah, once again, this is me trying to compare mimesis and memes, and they are different essentially, but they all stem from some of the same Greek stuff, and so that's where I want to actually connect this, okay? So we have already connected. Girard is all over this mimesis stuff, right? This is Girard territory, okay? And we already know, I already just said that Peter Thiel studied under Girard. Now, but Peter Thiel is also on this meme side as well, okay? Peter Thiel is heavily associated with, discussing memes in a large sense. So we have, I have this article from Vice back in 2017. Here, let me take a sip of water real quick. And so we have this article from 2017. Yeah, is America prepared for meme warfare? And if you remember the 2016 election at all, the Pepe memes and the Hillary Clinton collapsing and, the 4chan random number stuff, it was crazy wild. All the weird, the meme warfare was real during that whole time. And it does kind of remind you of, if you know much about was it World War I or World War II? Maybe it was World War II. No, maybe it was World War I. I forget. You'll have to correct me. But there is one of the famous magicians was Aleister Crowley or whatever was using, they were doing wizard battles or whatever. But it's a sort of propaganda, information, psychological, all boiled into one concept or whatever. Okay. And in this article, it kind of goes through a bunch of interesting connections. Okay, and it kind of goes through the history of memes and all that sort of stuff, and how Peter Thiel is heavily associated with a lot of this stuff, okay? So yeah, for a number of reasons, memetics are likely to become more important in the new White House. This is back in 2017. Jeff Geisey is a former employee of tech giant and Trump donor Peter Thiel, and an influential organizer within the alt-right who is prominently featured in recent profiles in the movement and its ties to the Trump administration. Geisey is also the article of an article published in the official NATO Strategic Journal in late 2015, just as the Trump campaign was really building steam, entitled "It's Time to Embrace Mimetic Warfare." Yeah, here it is, and yeah, I can check that out if y'all want to. Yeah, here's the little title for it. Yeah, it's time to embrace mimetic warfare, and speaking from 2025, isn't that how we only communicate these days? Is nothing but memes. Geisey was far from the first to suggest this. Some forward thinkers within the U.S. military were interested in how memes might be used in warfare years before killing and digital resurrection of Harambe dominated popular culture. We got the mimetics. Oh wait, there's this paper Maybe this is the other one that I'm thinking of. Okay, yeah, I have this one. A year after the Meme Warfare Center proposal was published, DARPA, the Pentagon agency that develops new military technology, commissioned a 4-year study of mimetics. The research was led by Dr. Finkelstein, founder of the Robotic Technology Institute, and an academic with a background in physics and cybernetics. No, that's the Geisty guy. Oh yeah. So yeah, here's that Finkelstein DARPA related research into mimetics. You can take. There's a. I wonder if it can tell us if I have. So they're like, they're connected to like biology, right? Eye memes can be studied using tools and techniques such as like, they can use like MRIs when they study like how memes work. Okay, like. And once again, it's like this replication process, this miming, this copying, right? If mimos means to imitate or to act, it's like, it's a self-replicating. So memes can also be viruses, and viruses can be positive. Okay, so they found out that apparently the placenta, its genetic structure is essentially like an ancient virus that got into the human genome at some point in the distant past, which allows like the placenta to be grown inside the mother rather than essentially be like eggs or something like outside of it. But it's essentially like, yeah, its genetic code is technically a virus if you really boil it down. And so I'm just saying, yeah, the viruses and this, if we can just span that metaphor out, that to social contagions, that literal a language virus, as Russ Cole would say in True Detective, whatever, and so it's I think that there's a real I don't know how to it's like anthropological, it's biological, and it's also sort of like neurological, and I don't know, linguistic at the same time. And honestly, we're approaching a thing where like magic as a word is better with a K, is a better encapsulation of trying to explain a lot of this stuff a lot of the time. And yeah, it just kind of goes into more of this stuff here, and if you want to look into this mimetic article thing. Now, so yeah, I'm once again trying to connect Thiel to not only mimesis, but mimemas or memes, okay? And if so memes are just the cultural idea itself, and then mimetics would be knowing how to exploit the adoption of earlier said meme, If a meme is just the virus itself, then mimesis is the study of like how to make the virus more. What are the terms they use? Like I'm gonna get myself like knocked off here for using a bunch of like coof stuff. What is it? It's not like enhanced function or whatever. I forget the name of it, where they try to make a virus more able to infect other people, but same principle here, right? You got a meme, you got some cultural inside joke or information that you want to be able to spread to more people. How do you make it more contagious? Then is there a way of making it inorganically contagious? And obviously we would definitely agree that this is, if they can do it in like the biological world, I'm pretty sure they can kind of do it in this psychological world too, okay? If that makes it all sense. So if they can whip up viruses in a lab, they can also whip up a virus that's also highly contagious. It's the combination of both. It's the combination of both of these. Where am I? It's a combination of both of these, right? The contagion itself and how contagious you can make it, and make it even more adoptable. Okay? So, where is this all coming down to? If you're not, once again aware, there is a phenomenon that's going around. It's called 6-7. And it's like this, this thing where you do this like hand wave. I don't even want to do it, but you see his hands here that one's raised above the other, and they kind of do like a back and forth rock. So this guy named Skrilla early this year made this song, early 2025, doot doot 6-7, and he like does this motion in it, and he says like 6-7, and he just sounds like a degenerate moron. I don't even want to play. I don't want to get any clicks, and it's ironic that he's in a thing called Genius. He's anything but that. But in the very beginning of this, if you'd watch it, he says 6-7, it represent my brain. Okay, so I should keep explaining the meme though. Sorry, but before I go off into trying to further explain it. So yeah, this guy made this song. Okay, here's like the official video for it. This guy is also like a creepy Santeria practitioner, and he talks about, he talks about sacrificing animals and all this sort of stuff for, spells and harming other people and all that sort of stuff, right? And kind of talks about, all of his practices and his imagery that he uses. This is another YouTuber talking about it, so yeah, you can watch the informant. Shout out to them, but yeah, he just kind of explains a lot of the negative stuff in there or whatever, right? And the deities that this guy worships, which may be associated with the numbers 6 and 7. So yeah, this song comes out, then it gets clipped. The song gets like clipped together with like some NBA like highlight or something, okay? And then I think it maybe gets a little more popular, and then some kid at some other place, just right time, right place or whatever, and right posting, I don't know. This goofy other kid, this at some like school basketball game or something, says like the same thing, and then suddenly it's just contagious, and like everybody does it, and everybody, as soon as you hear apparently or see the number 6-7, you just go like 6-7, and you do. And what are you really doing? So yeah, that's like the meme itself. That every time the kids, and I've seen this at the schools, every time the kids, for like, all right, turn to page 67, or do problem 6 and 7, or the answer was 67, like God forbid, like they're gonna all just erupt together as like 6-7, and that does kind of remind me of my Brave New World video, in that it's kind of like an orgy porgy, unison shout or something like that, right? Where they all repeat the memes together, and especially it's really bad in Brave New World where they all just repeat these sort of bland, sententious sounding, quips and mottos about their society, and a pill a day keeps the frown away, or I forget exactly how they go, but yeah, they just all repeat the same memes over and over again, and even they can all be triggered by the same thing sometimes. And bringing it back to Shakespeare in the video that I did on the Brave New World Order, is that they're reading Shakespeare, and it's like when one character was a Bernard, can't understand what's going on in Shakespeare because he doesn't have the linguistic or capability to even literacy to understand what's happening in it, and he feels insecure and will start resorting to memes and shouting like orgy porgy and shouting all this sort of stuff, and one of the other characters will eventually get annoyed with him and tell him to shut up. But that's where we're headed, right? If I was reading Shakespeare and I was like, turn to page 67, they would all repeat the same thing, it's like Pavlov's dog or something, right? That you can get them to all to salivate to a bell, but now it's just like hearing an audible phrase instead, right? If the dog will salivate to 6-7, now you can get the dog to do a trick and do this and do this sort of thing, right? And to bring it back to memetics and memetics, or memes, so yeah, we in this interview, he says that 6-7, it represents my brain, okay? And if memes are societal genes, they are societal information bits that are genetic and viral like in structure, than that they can find hosts and replicate themselves, okay? He's essentially made himself contagious. He's the one who first does the hand raising 6-7 incantation. It's like he's almost gotten everybody to be him. Every time you do this motion, the meme itself, you are mimosing him. You are copying him. You are acting as him. And what's that old saying? If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, walks like a duck, talks like a duck, acts like a duck, it must be a duck. So if you're going to walk and talk and act and sound like this person, you must be that person. And you see how this idea of a meme can be a virus, and that it can attach itself into you, and like a parasite demon, or linguistic demon, or anthropological demon. It can make you do something. He's making you do his hand movements. He's like, it's almost with people doing puppet strings or something, right? It's like he's getting you to do this, but it's like him doing, the actual strings attached to you. Every time you hear a particular audible phrase. It's like, it's like even more, but it'd be one thing if you were like Winter Soldier or something and you would like turn into like, freaking awesome, like badass, gun killing dude or something like that, right? But it's another thing if you just, do some like goofy, it's just like nothing, it's like, yeah, I'm literally doing it. Like, what does it even mean, right? It's like I have to do the same hand thing to even explain, sort of via gasp of what you're even trying to communicate. And so, yeah. And so I just see this particular meme being spread everywhere. And if we're liking it to, the sort of anthropological, biological processes, then maybe I have some argument here about why these things are being spread. And then Mimesis would explain that, people want to do it because it looks fun and cool, and then they all just repeat the same thing. And maybe unless you're aware of like where it comes from, maybe we should not be doing it. And that's maybe we're the birthday song people. Well, what if the birthday song was actually like an ancient satanic hymn or something, right? Like, oh dang, like who knows? But so once again, whoever's got the birthday song knowledge needs to drop this on it. I don't know that off the top of my head. But to bring it back, it's very contagious. I don't know why it's so contagious. I don't know why it is, but other people, even if some people don't think it's cool or funny, they like to do it because their friends do it. Mimesis explanation. That's a Girard explanation. People want to partake in social functions. They want to meme and mime the meme. Now bringing it back to Thiel, okay? Because once again, Thiel is all about knowing about mimesis. Here's I didn't bring that one up, right? There is a. Oh, okay. Well, this is important. I should have brought this up. So Peter Thiel, back in 2011, was talking about he's talking about his training under Rene Girard. I don't know play it here, but yeah. So he was talking about Rene Girard and mimesis and a lot, and how he applied it to his professional life and all that sort of stuff. But in it, he talks about mimesis, and he sort of says, I'm gonna paraphrase it here, and he basically says that it's crazy how and he does say that he does use the word herd like, and he's like it's kind of crazy how herd like people become, and how that information was usually kept hidden or away. And he does say that. I have I have the quote written down somewhere else on my Substack that I'll publish soon. But yeah, he literally does say like, it's disturbing how herd-like people become, and how this and typically this kind of information has been hidden or kept away. And that's like, if you know anything about the occult and how they use their vernacular, like that is magic. And magic is nothing more than really, really advanced anthropological, biological, sociological, psychological, manipulation, essentially, right? And maybe it can kind of go to a metaphysic realm. Maybe it can kind of go to even beyond that. I wouldn't be surprised, and maybe that's why all these other explanations totally are able to do it as well. But that's why the occult is literally called the occult, right? It's like stuff that's hidden away by definition, and that's a lot of what the stuff does explain is essentially, exploiting logical fallacies, exploiting biological hang-ups and desires and needs, essentially, right? And so it's just once again, he's combining like both schools together, and I feel like achieving both ends in here, okay? And so the idea that once again, this information, he says the quiet part out loud, that this kind of information was kept hidden and kept secret. And so that's, he also sort of saying like, a lot of people technically we've kind of known about this, right? And it's only until Girard kind of gives it a name, or kind of really associate that literary criticism and with it all, right? Kind of saying like, actually, not leaving it occulted anymore, right? So bringing it back again. Peter Thiel was recently on a South Park episode. Well, not actual him, but what is he doing on the South Park episode? He's going to teach the kids about the Antichrist. We might have to listen to the song because it's so good. We'll listen to the song real quick. Because I don't want to get booted off too. I don't know if this is. Oh, you're probably. Oh, my bad. I don't have my desktop audio turned on for y'all to hear it, and I'm definitely not gonna sing it for you. Oh, all right. Rewind. We're doing it live here, folks. Forgive.
Peter Thiel knows about the Antichrist. Peter Thiel knows about the Antichrist.
I'm Peter Thiel and I know about the Antichrist.
Let's learn about the Antichrist today.
Hello, kids. I'm
He's got Peter Thiel doing an auditorium lecture to kids about the Antichrist. South Park. Yeah, this one. Oh man, they got it. This one. So yeah, he's talking all about the Antichrist, and we already went through all that sort of stuff, right? But he notices that all the kids at the school are constantly doing 6-7 at every single little thing, right? I'll let him do it here.
First to the eagle, which refers to America, the fourth seal broken and hell coming to earth. It's right here in Revelation 6:7.
Yeah, so see, so yeah, he the rest of the episode is him like trying to tell the student body or the administration that a satanic cult has taken over the school. This 6-7 cult is a satanic infection or whatever, right? And he's installed Palantir cameras in every single inch of the school, including the kids' bathrooms. And the only character with any amount of awareness is the Jesus character, and he's just like, why is there cameras in the girls' bathroom? And Peter Thiel's like, to fight the Antichrist or to stop the Antichrist. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, this was a little too funny for me, but. So yeah, we're this is something I'm seeing real time, right? The 6-7 thing. I see it with students at the school, that I work at. So shout out if they watch this at all. I already lectured them about 6-7 and the boo-boos and all that nonsense. And so, we got this going on, and then also, we got South Park connecting Peter Thiel and the 6-7 stuff now, right? But I'm like, wait a second, I just see Peter Thiel as part of this whole dissemination of this stuff, right? Once again, bringing it back to not just memes and all the people that he's associated with, like this Jeff Geisa guy, and there's tons of other links in this article and things we could go down in his even when once again we talked about JD Vance being involved with. JD Vance is totally a Peter Thiel guy, right? And what did JD Vance even do recently? He basically, completed the meme. He, brought it full circle. There's these goofy pictures of him that go around. And what did he do for Halloween? Yeah, he did it. He just, he did it. He made fun of himself. And it's it's a sort of power capture play or something, right? You kind of humiliate yourself or kind of do it, and you're able to maybe turn off some of the energy, or you're able to flip it on its head, right? You kind of reverse Uno them, and yeah, and just once again, Vance is connected to Thiel. You got this whole meme warfare that's going on, and the social media battle landscape, and Instagram reels and TikTok reels, and how quickly information sort of spreads in these memes. Even from something like Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, is his own meme, and. Yeah, I don't know. It's highly suspect watching it all play out in real time. And then I'm just connecting it all back to, Shakespeare and Francis Bacon and understanding the philosophy of this stuff. Because, if we don't really understand the plays, and we don't really understand what the real Shakespeare is going to have, right? Because that's what drives me, kind of crazy sometimes, is that Chance and I have talked about the negative capability of Shakespeare, that a lot of people don't really know what's it really saying or what's its real stance on it. And maybe that's where Shakespeare's great, is that maybe he doesn't always take a stance exactly. It kind of will just lay out the conversation, perhaps, maybe. But tons of people still come away with wildly different implications about what they're reading. Okay, so we got someone like Michael Martin, who we interviewed not that long ago, right? And he's not a Shakespeare doubter. He's like, yeah, Shakespeare's Shakespeare, and he's Catholic sympathetic, but he's also Protestant sympathetic, and he's just he's trying to not lecture people on this stuff. He's just trying to lead people to their own conclusions about blah 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 blah, and he's if anything great guy or whatever, right? And then we had other people like there's a guy in Substack. He goes by the handle hidden, all things hidden, I want to say, something like that. I'll pull up here as I'm yapping. But I got another guy. he's a Baconian, and so he's definitely like, yeah, he thinks Shakespeare is written by Bacon, but it's not the Bacon that maybe you want to hear this time. It's not Bacon's a genius and Bacon's awesome. It's, yeah, sure, Bacon's a genius, but Bacon's also like super evil, and Bacon's philosophy is up and down in Shakespeare, and you know, it's a cult, it's bad, it's, you know, got all these nasty implications if you actually believe some of it, or what, you know, believe what a Shakespeare says, and it's, and, you know, not quite paraphrasing here, but he's like, oh, it like makes you gay, and like, you know, it's got all this, you know, homosexual hidden, you know, triggers in it or whatever, right? And he, you know, but, you know, some of it, you know, I like some of the occult and alchemy stuff that he points out to it. I don't know if I believe every single thing, but, you know, it's still interesting to compare that people are still having wildly different interpretations of Shakespeare. Okay, yeah, so this is him. The hidden life is best. Yeah, you know, he's all into, yeah, Bacon invented Freemasonry, and Freemasonry is bad, and Shakespeare's all bad for you, and yada yada yada. Yeah, the secret religion hiding in Romeo and Juliet, pharmakeia, which I definitely talked about in one of my I reference him too in my essay on Romeo and Juliet's pathemathos. But without tangenting here too hard, you know, I'm just showing you that, yeah, all these different people have different ideas about what does Shakespeare really say, what's really going on. That's why I think, you know, you got some of the smartest people that, you know, that are talking about Shakespeare, right? That's why we like Nietzsche talking about Shakespeare. We like Girard talking about Shakespeare. Bonus points if you got, you know, Nabokov and Sydney maybe getting shout-outs or something. And yeah, just understanding social processes, and, you know, that's why this channel is a combination of, you know, I've done stuff on MK Ultra before, right? I'm kind of interested in propaganda. I'm kind of interested in controlling the human mind and incepting ideas and into culture and to, you know, social spheres or whatever, I don't know, but yeah, the idea of subtle persuasion and public relations and all that sort of stuff. And I think, yeah, Shakespeare is just sort of, you know, I think connected to it in a few different ways, and so exploring it, how it, you know, eventually leaks into the public consciousness, right? And trying to explain, yeah, why memes work and how they work, and, you know, Shakespeare memes are themselves their own thing too, you know. Double, toil and trouble. That's like its own meme, right? That we constantly say over and over and over, or whatever, right? This idea of like how we think of, you know, at one point how we thought of witches. And, you know, or why I've, you know, detailed before, changing the meaning of the word weird from fate to uncanny, and that sort of representation in the Macbeth play. So, yeah, media is super important for disseminating memes and controlling them and crafting them to some degree. Yeah, and that's why, yeah, like connecting Sydney to a lot of this stuff too. I just think that, yeah, he's heavily involved with understanding the connection between, you know, burgeoning empires and social identities and language and media and all that sort of stuff, and memes, right? Because that's what Sydney's like, oh, the Spanish, he doesn't say this, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he's like, yeah, the Spanish have all these great memes that they can all repeat the same thing together, and, you know, they have all this camaraderie, and we need this in English, right? And then, you know, not too much long, not, you know, a little bit later, to be or not to be, oh, look, now we have it, you know, or Romeo, where art thou, Romeo? Yeah, we all have Shakespeare things that we can all, you know, recite on command because it's part of English-speaking identity to some degree. So, yeah. I think that might be everything I have to divulge, essentially, right? Talking about trying to explain all the differences between memes, mimemas, and mimesis, and how, yeah, they are two different things, but they might help explain one another, and they ultimately do derive from these Greek meanings. And I think that, you know, if you're with that sort of Plato stuff, and I would agree with, and some of those other guys about etymos, literal etymology is will encapsulate the meaning of a word. Yeah, I think that this miming, this acting, means something. I think means something. You know, maybe that's why Hollywood, if you're into the occult and other conspiracy-related aspects, right? Like Hollywood is definitely known for some of that stuff, right? Even its name is a sort of magical incantation of stuff. And what are they known for? You know, they're associated with actors and idols, and they present the objects of desire and models for us to chase, whether it's being rich or being beautiful or looking a particular way. You know, they are used as other people's way of measuring their own success and survivability and affordability or viability, rather, I should say, in a sense, So yeah, I think that this glamour, once again, also related to the word grammar, is all connected to these ideas of memes and cultural manipulation and language combinations and execution and yeah, just trying to stoke a real conversation about a lot of this stuff. And I'm just as interested in figuring out who actually wrote Shakespeare, who was involved. Although, yeah, I think I don't know if it's really, I don't know how close we'll actually get there. It's a sort of a nebulous question, but I think that, yeah, the better that we can try to understand some of maybe the philosophy and the plays themselves, yeah, maybe work backwards and, yeah, not try to, that it's good. Some people think Bacon wrote it and they'll see Bacon up and down in it. Some people think Sidney wrote it and they'll see Sidney up and down in it, right? But yeah, maybe trying to just go back and still just trying to just read the plays for what they are and trying to see if, I like exploring some of those, under the subsurface philosophy maybe flowing throughout the plays themselves. I've talked about that with, maybe the Nietzsche, the Julius Evola stuff with Shakespeare as well. So, yeah, I think there's still plenty more to be discovered in here, and hopefully that will figure out or elucidate who's actually author of the plays. But if you have your own opinions on such matters, make sure that you drop them down in the comments below. I think that's pretty much all I got here for today. I think I've ran out of content as far as explaining anything I had so far. So yeah, if you've got any more. And I'll probably come back and I'll read that Troilus and Cressida essay, I think, because I think it's got a lot of interesting points in it. So I think that we'll just do that one again at some point. But otherwise, if you would like to support the channel, make sure you check all the links down below in the description or become a channel member. Got plenty of content on Patreon. We're doing a weekly book club. We're going through Shakespeare plays and other related material that we talk about every single week. And you'll get lifetime Discord access to our private server where you can talk to us in real time. So if you enjoyed the episode, yeah, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hope you got something out of it. Maybe have some of your own rabbit holes to explore. But otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you all in the next stream, all right? Nullis in Verbo, everyone.